The Generals of the Yang Family Chapter 40.
So imagine walking into a burning building, like you know the doors are absolutely going to lock behind you,
Yeah.
and you just do it anyway. That is the exact scenario facing 10 diplomats who we're analyzing today.
Today we are unpacking this really high-stakes, ancient political thriller straight from Chapter 40, this crazy intersection of, treacherous diplomacy, totally ingenious military deception, and just raw survival.
Right.
It's a story about walking into a trap with your eyes wide open. So the setup here is that the Song Emperor, Zhenzong, has given a direct order.
A very dangerous order.
Exactly. He ordered 10 of his highest-ranking officials to travel to this place called the Nine-Dragon Flying Tiger Valley. And they're supposed to accept a surrender and receive the map of the 9 provinces from Empress Xiao of the northern Liao.
Which sounds great on paper, right?
Yeah, a huge diplomatic win. But the reality is, this dynamic at play forces a total reevaluation of what compliance even means in a rigid hierarchy. Because this isn't just a simple diplomatic envoy.
Not at all.
It is heavily suspected by everyone involved to be a meticulously constructed lethal trap. And the worst part is it's orchestrated from within their own court by this treacherous minister named Wang Qin.
Yeah, that internal betrayal just adds this suffocating layer of dread to the whole mission.
Absolutely.
We have these 10 officials led by the 8th Prince, Kuzun, and Chayu. And they get this order. And they have this chilling realization that they are completely exposed. The text actually uses this really potent phrase.
Oh, the sheep and tiger one?
Yes. They realize that going alone to this valley is like sheep entering a tiger's mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at a scenario where the prey is being actively packaged and delivered to the predator by its own shepherd.
That sheep and tiger metaphor is vital because it establishes the sheer power disparity here. I mean, they are civilian officials, or at least they're operating in a civilian diplomatic capacity, marching into a heavily fortified military stronghold.
Right.
And Wang Qin, that treacherous minister who is, whispering in the emperor's ear, he relies on a very specific mechanism of the Song court to make this work.
Because the emperor's word is law.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
emperor's decree is absolute. The power structure of the Song dynasty was highly centralized, specifically to prevent military coups.
Which is ironic.
It is. It ironically made the emperor super susceptible to silver-tongued civilian ministers like Wang Qin. He could frame this absolute suicide mission as this glorious diplomatic victory.
Okay, let's unpack this because I am imagining the sheer frustration of being in the 8th Prince's shoes.
Oh, it would be a nightmare.
You see the trap clearly.
Yeah.
Wang Qin is working with the Liao Empress. My immediate modern instinct, and I'm sure yours too listening to this, is to just refuse.
Just say no.
Yeah. If you know an email has a nasty computer virus, but your CEO is directly ordering you to click the link anyway, you just quit. You walk away.
Well, refusing an imperial decree in the context of the Song dynasty is an entirely different calculus. Refusal isn't just insubordination.
It's treason.
It is high treason. The legal codes of the era dictate that defying a direct mandate from the Son of Heaven carries a death sentence. And crucially, that sentence does not stop with the individual.
Oh, collective punishment.
Exactly. Your parents, your children, your extended family, they could all be executed or exiled.
Wow.
So the trap Wang Qin has engineered is flawless from a political standpoint. The officials literally have to choose between certain death by execution at home, dragging their families down with them, or probable death by ambush in this flying tiger valley.
They are completely cornered by the law itself.
Completely.
They can't change the mandate and they can't change the destination. But where they find that their margin of survival is in altering how they execute the mandate.
Right, the logistics of getting there.
Yeah, they realize the decree dictates they must arrive and accept the surrender, but it doesn't dictate every single footstep of the journey, so they recognize they need a contingency plan.
Something outside the naive assumptions of the imperial court.
Exactly. They need military realism, which prompts this amazing strategic detour to the 3 passes to seek an audience with Yang Junma, the fairest 6th brother Yang.
This is a really crucial pivot. The officials recognize that combating a military ambush requires military intellect.
You can't just talk your way out of it.
Right. 6th brother Yang represents a completely different paradigm from the court politicians. He lives out on the frontier. He breathes this constant low-level warfare and deception that characterizes the border between the Song and the Liao.
So he gets it immediately.
Oh, yeah. When the 8th Prince lays out the reality of Wang Qin's deception, 6th brother Yang requires zero convincing. He immediately sees the structural layout of the trap.
And his response completely shifts the momentum of the narrative. Instead of despairing over the trap, he views it as a strategic opportunity.
He's going to flip it on them.
He essentially decides to weaponize the enemy's own deception against them. He wants to secure the surrendered maps while simultaneously exposing Wang Qin. So he pulls in over 20 of his most formidable, battle-hardened warriors.
The heavy hitters.
Yeah, we're talking seasoned specialists. Meng Liang, Zhao Zan, Yu Sheng, along with guys known by titles like Lin the Iron Spear and Song the Iron Club.
Which is awesome, but assembling this specific roster of warriors introduces a massive logistical problem.
Right, because they're famous.
Exactly. Yu Sheng actually points this out quickly. He says, look, if the Northern Liao forces recognize any of these famous Song generals acting as an escort, the entire illusion of the vulnerable diplomatic mission shatters.
The trap won't work if they know you're ready for it.
Precisely. The Liao won't spring the trap if they believe the Song are prepared. They'll just adapt and probably overwhelm them with conventional forces later. The trap relies entirely on the Liao believing the Song officials are helpless sheep.
So they have to remain sheep, visually, while somehow bringing fangs and claws right into the tiger's den.
Yes.
And Sixth Brother Yang's solution to this is just brilliant. It's the Trojan bamboo tubes.
It's so clever.
It's a masterclass in covert operational disguise. He tells these elite commandos to strip off their armor and dress up as lowly attendants.
Just carrying luggage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To keep up the diplomatic facade, they're tasked with carrying these large, ornate wooden boxes. On the surface, the boxes display royal crowns, official garments, all the bureaucratic trappings of a peace treaty.
But underneath...
Beneath false bottoms in these boxes lie their short swords and blades.
The box disguise is clever, but what's fascinating here is the truly ingenious mechanism for how they conceal their pole arms.
Oh, the spears.
Yeah, the spears and clubs, they absolutely need to repel a cavalry charge. You can't fit a spear in a box.
Right.
So Sixth Brother Yang commissions the creation of these specialized two-sectioned bamboo tubes. Bamboo, by its nature, is segmented and hollow. So they take these really thick, mature stalks of bamboo and craft them so the top chamber holds actual potable drinking water, while the longer bottom chamber serves as a sheath for their primary weapons.
I love this detail so much. It's like a James Bond gadget, but built for ancient warfare.
It really is.
Because think about the physical mechanics of this in the field. When you're carrying a large bamboo pole, the enemy expects it to either be solid or hollow for carrying liquids.
Right.
If a Liao border guard stops this caravan and demands an inspection, simply carrying fake hollow tubes is incredibly dangerous.
Because of the sound.
Exactly. A guard tapping the side of an empty tube would immediately notice the acoustic difference. And a hollow tube carrying a heavy iron spear balances completely differently than a tube full of sloshing water.
The weight distribution is a critical factor. By filling the top section with water, the tube actually possesses the kinetic heft and the audible slosh of a legitimate water vessel.
It feels real.
Yes, but the psychological brilliance of the bamboo tube lies in its interactive nature. An inspection checkpoint is a very high-tension environment. A guard is looking for anomalies.
They're on edge.
Right. So if the disguised attendant proactively offers the top of the tube to the guard for a drink, it completely circumvents the guard's suspicion.
Oh, wow.
It provides an immediate, mundane explanation for the object.
That is so smart. It effectively shuts down the analytical part of the guard's brain. You offer them water, they see water, the investigation ends.
Yep.
And Sixth Brother Yang lays down a very strict rule engagement for these guys. They are ordered to maintain the disguise completely. If questioned, they are just carrying water.
No jumping the gun.
Exactly. They're only authorized to deploy the weapons if an unforeseen danger presents itself. This isn't some preemptive strike force.
It's a contingency plan.
Right. It's a concealed defensive insurance policy. The officials are still genuinely attempting to fulfill the emperor's mandate of peace, however incredibly slim that hope might be.
Well, with that covert security apparatus established, the tone of the narrative undergoes this severe shift. The tactical planning gives way to this profound atmospheric dread as the 10 officials actually begin their march toward the Flying Tiger Valley.
The journey itself.
Yeah, the text details their journey through the landscape of the frontier in early winter, and it's a vivid portrayal of the psychological burden they carry.
I really want to bring this sensory detail to you listening because it paints a vivid, almost cinematic picture of the dread these officials must be feeling.
The author does a great job here.
You have this biting cold wind whipping across the desolate plains. Above them, the mournful cries of migrating wild geese, which is a classic literary symbol for travelers far from home and impending sorrow.
It sets the mood.
It does. But the most arresting image is the ground beneath their horses. The road is described as being literally littered with crossing white bones and countless broken halberds.
Remnants of past wars.
Yeah, from ancient catastrophic clashes between the Han and the Zhou. They're riding toward a potential death trap while literally riding over the skeletons of those who died in previous traps.
That historical reference is deeply significant. The mention of the Han and Zhou battles roots this specific journey in centuries of cyclical violence.
It's happened before, it'll happen again.
Exactly. The officials aren't just riding to a potential ambush. They are physically traversing a graveyard of failed strategies and slaughtered soldiers. It forces this really harsh juxtaposition between the abstract political concept of peace they're supposed to be negotiating and the brutal physical reality of the geography they have to cross to get it.
And the eighth prince, he looks out over this landscape, and the facade of the stoic diplomat just cracks.
He can't hold it in.
He lets out a heavy sigh, and he reflects on how warfare inevitably leaves the brains and livers of the common people smeared across the earth. And he recites this somber poem dedicated to the fallen heroes, mourning how their immense efforts ultimately dissolved into nothing but sorrow carried on the autumn wind.
It's a heavy moment.
It's a moment of piercing clarity.
And the contrast between the eighth prince's lament and the emperor's mandate is striking here. The emperor desires the map of the 9 provinces.
Right.
A map is a sanitized abstraction of control. It turns mountains and rivers into neat, tidy geopolitical lines on parchment, entirely devoid of human suffering.
It's clean.
But the eighth prince is standing in the actual dust and bone required to redraw those lines. The poem isn't just set dressing. It anchors the soaring, high-stakes political maneuvering of the capital to the horrifying, localized human cost on the frontier.
So while the Song officials are taking this deeply reflective, melancholic journey, fully aware of the ghosts beneath their feet, the Liao forces are aggressively preparing the ground for fresh casualties.
They are busy.
Very busy. News of the Song arrival reaches the Northern Liao command, and Empress Xiao dispatches a general named Yelu Suigu to organize the reception. And his approach instantly strips away any remaining ambiguity about their intentions.
Yeah, Yelu does not mobilize a diplomatic honor guard.
No, he does not.
He marches to the valley with 10,000 elite combat troops. Deploying an army of that scale to receive a delegation of 10 civilian officials is the definition of disproportionate force.
It's overkill.
Complete overkill. It signals unequivocally that the primary objective is annihilation, not negotiation. Suigu meticulously scouts the topography of the 9-dragon-flying Tiger Valley to optimize his numerical advantage.
And the geography of this valley is effectively the main character of the trap.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a dead end. You've got these steep, impassable cliffs bordering the perimeter, funneling everything toward a single, easily choked entrance. Deep inside, there is only one flat eastern area suitable for hosting a banquet.
The jaws of the trap.
Exactly. It's the architectural equivalent of a lobster trap. It is super easy to walk into, but geographically impossible to walk out of once the door shuts behind you.
And having secured that optimal terrain, Suigu positions the bulk of his force, those 10,000 troops, under the command of General Han Jimbi, in a concealed ambush position directly at the valley's entrance.
Blocking the only exit.
Right. He then gathers his lieutenants, Xi Lu and Zhang Meng, to outline the operational strategy. And he leaves absolutely no room for misinterpretation. He explicitly states his intention to recreate the Hongmen Banquet.
Okay, that specific phrase, Hongmen Banquet, carries massive historical and psychological weight.
It tells you everything you need to know.
For anyone versed in ancient military history, it is the ultimate shorthand for a treacherous feast. It traces back to a legendary event where the warlord Xiang Yu invited his rival, Liu Bang, to a banquet.
Under the guise of hospitality.
Exactly. The surface was hospitality, but the underlying objective was to execute a decapitation strike by assassinating Liu Bang during the festivities. So by invoking the Hanmen Banquet, Suigu is confirming to his officers that this peace treaty dinner is merely a theater set for a massacre.
It dictates the rules of engagement for the Liao officers. They are expected to smile, pour the wine, and just await the signal to slaughter their guests.
Cold-blooded.
Very. And to guarantee the Song officials arrive completely vulnerable to this strategy, Suigu issues a chilling precondition via messenger. He demands that the Song delegation arrive at the valley with no blades.
Right.
He frames it as a measure of good faith for a peace negotiation, but strategically, he is attempting to ensure his prey enters the cage without even a ceremonial knife to defend themselves.
The irony of this demand is just staggering to me.
Well, so?
Well, the Song officials already possessed this overwhelming suspicion that they were walking into an ambush. That's why they made the detour to Sixth Brother Yang.
Right, they knew.
So when Suegu's messenger arrives, demanding absolute disarmament, it is the final confirmation. So what does this all mean? It means both sides are sitting down to dinner, knowing perfectly well someone is planning a murder.
The tension is astronomical.
Both sides are committing to this elaborate diplomatic pantomime, fully aware that the underlying reality is a fight to the death.
This creates an environment of just unbearable psychological pressure. The initial encounter between the two factions at the banquet table is a masterclass in aggressive restraint.
Everyone playing their part.
Exactly. Yeluzwegu welcomes the Tensong officials, and he observes with secret satisfaction that they appear to have complied with his demand, bringing only these unarmed attendants carrying wooden boxes.
Little does he know.
Right. So they take their seats, the ceremonial music plays, the wine is poured. The illusion of a peace summit is meticulously maintained.
But the pleasantries evaporate almost immediately. Because Suegu recognizes that to maintain control of the impending execution, he needs to establish psychological dominance over the Song delegation.
What needs them cowed?
Yeah. He targets Chai Yu, who occupies the seat of honor, and launches this accusation designed to frame the Song as the instigators of their long-standing conflict. He's basically trying to manufacture a moral justification for the trap he's about to spring.
Suegu's accusation centered on a fascinating piece of bureaucratic history involving calligraphy, of all things.
I love this part.
He claims that years prior, the northern Liao submitted a tributary map featuring the character Tian, meaning heaven. This was a gesture acknowledging the Song emperor's supreme authority.
Okay.
But according to Suego, Chayu deliberately altered the strokes of this character to form the character Wei, meaning not yet, or indicating a subordinate, unfinished status before presenting it to the emperor.
Just a few strokes.
Yes, and this alteration deeply insulted the Liao emperors and ignited a bloody war. Shuego was attempting to saddle Chayu with the moral culpability for every single casualty of that conflict.
The mechanics of that alteration are brilliant. Taking the 4 strokes of Tian and subtly extending and adding strokes to manipulate it into Wei. It completely changes the geopolitical posture of the map from submissive to defiant.
It's a huge insult.
But what is truly breathtaking here is Chayu's response. He doesn't cower, he doesn't apologize or try to smooth things over to buy time.
Not at all.
He launches into a ferociously unapologetic defense of his actions.
Chayu meets Kueger's aggression with overwhelming rhetorical force. He asserts the divine legitimacy of the Song Emperor, claiming the mandate of heaven to unify the realm.
He goes on the offensive.
He does. He dismisses the northern Liao state as this distant, chaotic entity prone to rebellion. He actually reminds Wego of a specific military engagement where the Song forces shattered the Liao arrays, stating bluntly that the Song could have marched into the Liao capital and taken the maps by force, but chose retreat purely out of mercy for the civilian population.
He essentially looks the man who holds his life in his hands and says, I altered the map, I don't regret it, and the only reason your nation still exists is because we allowed it.
It's an incredible display of dominance.
It is. And Zuegu, who is visibly unsettled by this total lack of submission, pivots and targets Kuzin with a different historical grievance.
Laying a different angle.
Yeah, he accuses Kuzin of burying a beautiful brocade tent sent as tribute by the Liao, hiding it from the Song Emperor, and sparking further conflict over a perceived slight.
And Kazin's response is even more dismissive. He projects a profound aristocratic arrogance, stating that his emperor is entirely consumed with the monumental task of governing the state and managing the welfare of the people.
He's too busy.
Exactly. He bluntly asserts that the Song Emperor has no time to entertain himself with trivial Liao toys like brocade tents. Kazin demands to know why Suego is wasting time on ancient history when the sole purpose of the meeting is the formal surrender of the maps.
I mean, observing this exchange, you have to wonder about the strategy behind such blatant provocation.
It seems suicidal.
It does. The Song officials know they're surrounded by 10,000 troops. They know the banquet is a trap. Instinctively, one might think the safest play is to be placating, to smile and nod and look for an exit.
Right.
Why engage in this aggressive diplomatic roasting when the stakes are literally life and death? It's like being invited to a hostile negotiation and immediately putting your feet up on the table.
Well, this raises an important question, and their behavior is actually rooted in the deep psychological mechanics of ancient diplomacy.
Okay.
In a high-stakes standoff, conceding the moral, historical, or intellectual high ground is an indicator of weakness, and weakness invites an immediate strike.
I see.
If they were to apologize or show fear, they would validate Shuigu's fabricated moral superiority and embolden his forces. By projecting absolute confidence, unapologetic righteousness, and even disdain, they confuse Shuigu.
They're calling his bluff.
Exactly. Think of it like in the animal kingdom when a predator corners prey and the prey suddenly puffs up and roars back, the predator hesitates. The prey's unexpected confidence suggests it might possess a hidden advantage. Chayu and Kuzun are employing rhetorical armor to stall the physical attack.
They are outmaneuvering him intellectually while sitting directly in the crosshairs of his army.
Yes.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Shuigu realizes his attempt to shame and break the Song officials mentally, has completely failed. He's basically been embarrassed in front of his own officers.
He looks weak.
And when psychological intimidation fails, a military commander invariably escalates to the physical.
Shuigu abandons the debate and initiates the physical phase of the Hongmen banquet strategy. He calls for entertainment, ordering his officer, Liao, to perform a sword dance.
Oh, here you go.
Historically, the sword dance was the exact mechanism used at the original Hongmen banquet by Shang Zhuang to maneuver close enough to assassinate Liu Bang.
It's the classic move.
It is. The pretense of an artistic performance allows an armed combatant to close the distance to an unarmed target without formally breaking the rules of hospitality.
And the Eighth Prince recognizes the maneuver instantly. The glint of the blade dancing closer and closer confirms the final phase of the trap has begun, so he calls out in panic for his attendants.
Which is the signal?
Exactly. This is the precise trigger condition Sixth Brother Yang established. The moment of unforeseen danger has arrived.
Meng Liang, who is disguised among the attendants, steps forward, and his intervention is tactically brilliant because he does not draw a weapon and charge.
If he did that, they'd all die.
Right. That would initiate a full-scale battle. The Song are not yet positioned to win. Instead, he neutralizes the threat by co-opting the rules of the banquet.
He plays along.
He boasts that the Song also possess brave men and demands to join the dance to add to the entertainment.
He steps right into the kill zone. He matches Liu's movements, inserting himself as an impenetrable barrier between the assassin and the Song diplomat.
Without breaking protocol.
Yes. He counters the lethality of the dance without breaking the fragile etiquette of the feast. But Shuigu observes Meng Liang's footwork, the aura of his martial presence, and instantly realizes this is not a servant.
You can't fake that kind of skill.
Exactly. This is a highly trained military operative. Recognizing the assassination via sword dance is thwarted, Shuigu forcefully alters the parameters of the entertainment.
He stops the dance and proposes a test of archery. But he twists the nature of the test into a sadistic execution.
It's so messed up.
Li proposes a game where a living person is bound to a pillar. An archer will then fire 3 arrows at the bound individual. If the target can evade or survive the arrows, they earn the title of a true master.
It is a thin, farcical justification for a point-blank firing squad.
Completely.
And Meng Liang, displaying a level of courage that frankly borders on the mythical, immediately volunteers to be the target. He allows himself to be securely tied to the pillar. The tension in that valley must have been absolute.
Palpable.
Liu draws his heavy warbow, taking careful aim at Meng Liang's face, and releases the first arrow. Let's detail this incredibly tense sequence.
The physiological and martial reality of what happens next is just astounding. The text states Meng Liang catches the incoming arrow tightly between his teeth.
Wait, really? In his teeth?
In his teeth. To track a projectile moving at that velocity, position your head perfectly and clamp down with enough jaw strength to halt the kinetic energy without shattering your teeth. It requires a level of martial refinement that entirely shatters the morale of the opposing force.
I mean, that's pure action movie quality right there.
It elevates Meng Liang from a skilled opponent to an almost supernatural threat in the eyes of the Liao soldiers.
Liu is undoubtedly unnerved. He fires the second arrow, targeting the throat. Meng Liang casually swats it away with his hand.
Just baps it away.
The Liao officer is now operating in a state of sheer panic. His intimidation game has become a display of his own inadequacy. He draws a third time and fires, striking Meng Liang squarely in the stomach.
The arrow hits, but it fails to penetrate. Beneath his attendant's robes, Meng Liang is wearing a hidden mirror armor chestplate.
Ah, of course.
This type of armor, featuring highly polished, convex metal plates, is specifically designed to deflect the kinetic energy of projectiles. The Song delegation erupts into cheers. Meng Liang has survived the impossible execution.
But the lethal game dictates turns. It is now Meng Liang's turn to shoot, and the roles are violently reversed. Xi Lu is tied to the pillar. Meng Liang takes up the bow. And what he does next reveals a profound understanding of psychological warfare.
It's brilliant.
He draws the bowstring back, sights his target, fires, and deliberately misses.
The decision to miss the first shot is devastatingly cruel and tactically brilliant. By missing, Meng Liang briefly convinces Xi Lu that the Song warrior's skills are purely defensive.
That he can catch an arrow, but can't shoot one.
Exactly. Xi Lu experiences a surge of false hope. He relaxes, thinking his life is secure, and arrogantly goads Meng Liang to finish his shots.
Meng Liang manufactures that relief specifically to destroy it. It wasn't poor aim, it was psychological warfare to completely break the Liao force's morale before killing their champion. He creates a false sense of security to maximize the terror of the kill.
Right.
With the second arrow, he doesn't miss. He puts the shaft straight through Xi Lu's throat, killing him instantly.
It's brutal.
The author summarizes the moment with a brutal line. Useless bravery of the barbarian soldier, today he must die beneath the arrow.
And you see how Meng Liang entirely hijacked Zhuegu's carefully scripted assassination theater. Zhuegu thought he was directing the play, but Meng Liang weaponized the Liao's own lethal game against them.
We flipped the script?
He executed their champion and exposed the profound vulnerability, the useless bravery of the Liao warriors. The psychological dominance Zhuegu sought to establish has been utterly inverted.
The sudden, brutal execution of Xi Lu shatters whatever fragile illusion of diplomacy remained. The music stops. The pretenses vanish.
The trap is sprung.
Yes. Zhuegu, humiliated and enraged by the loss of his champion and the collapse of his psychological strategy, screams the order to attack. 500 to 600 Liao cavalry, hidden in the immediate vicinity of the banquet, surge forward to butcher the Song delegation.
And this is the exact moment Sixth Brother Yang's meticulous preparation at the Three Passes pays its dividend.
The payoff.
The Song attendants, Yu Sheng, Zhao Zhan, Meng Liang, and the rest of the elite squad, they do not scatter in terror. They execute a synchronized, immediate, tactical response.
The Trojan bamboo tubes erupt.
Yes.
They shatter the bamboo water sections, revealing the deadly polearms hidden within. They kick open the ornate wooden boxes, pulling out short swords and heavy blades. In a matter of seconds, 20 submissive servants transform into a heavily armed, highly coordinated elite strike force.
It's pure chaos.
But chaos the Song forces were entirely prepared for.
Tactical surprise works both ways, right? Zhuegu believed his ambush was an absolute secret. His cavalry charged expecting to slaughter panicking, unarmed diplomats.
They weren't ready.
They were entirely unprepared, both formationally and psychologically, to impact a wall of seasoned combat veterans wielding spears designed specifically to counter mounted charges.
A bloodbath.
The text notes the Song warriors massacre half of the Liao cavalry right there among the overturned banquet tables. The reversal is so sudden and catastrophic that Yilu Zhuegu flees the immediate area in panic.
It is an incredibly satisfying sequence of events. You watch the Song heroes outsmart the traitor Wang Qin's mandate, disguise themselves brilliantly, mentally break the Liao general at the dinner table, survive a point-blank archery execution, and then completely obliterate the initial ambush.
They win the skirmish.
They protect the diplomats. You might think, listening to this, that they've won and saved the day.
They win the Battle of the Banquet, yes. But their victory exposes the true, horrifying reality of the Nine-Dragon Flying Tiger Valley.
Right. Meng Liang and the warriors form a defensive perimeter around the 10 officials, and they rush them toward the valley exit, desperate to escape before Zhuegu can regroup his remaining forces. But as they approach the mouth of the valley,
The cannons.
the devastating boom of cannons rips through the air.
General Han Jinbi's reserve force of 10,000 men rises up from ambush.
10,000 men.
10,000 fresh, fully armored troops. They establish an impenetrable blockade across the only exit, and because the valley is a geographical dead end surrounded by steep cliffs, the terrain itself becomes the primary weapon.
Nowhere to go.
Han Jinbi's forces don't even need to engage in hand-to-hand combat. They rain arrows, boulders, and debris down from the sheer heights above.
The martial prowess of Yu Sheng, or Meng Liang, catching an arrow in his teeth means absolutely nothing against the physics of falling rocks and an army of 10,000 men blocking a narrow gorge. They cannot advance, and behind them is a dead end.
The jaws of the valley have snapped shut permanently.
It's the ultimate cliffhanger,
Yeah.
and the author distills the absolute despair of this moment into two chilling, poetic lines.
A tiger falls into a deep pit with no way out. A dragon falls into an iron net, its wisdom and strategy lacking.
A dragon falls into an iron net. It implies that regardless of your majesty, your power, or your intellect, if the constraints placed upon you are strong enough, you are reduced to helplessness.